Thanks very much for having me, everyone. And thank you, too, for Matthew jumping onto stage with me today. Over the last year, ActivePipe has been embedded into Matthew's business and identifying clients' intentions and obviously listing opportunities, whether they're immediate or whether they're pipeline. And very willingly, Matthew's staff have also helped us get some feedback and tailor this to the LJ Hooker way of doing things. Today, I'm going to briefly go through the high-level numbers that ActivePipe would deliver back to the whole LJ Hooker network, and then we're going to look at a case study of Matthew's office in Gungahlin and then the broader numbers of clients and potential opportunities identified for the 6 offices. Okay? 8, excuse me. There's 6 residential, but 8 in total now. So I think one of the things that I'd like to ask you first is there anything that jumps out that's been of particular value for you in using ActivePipe and switching it on in your businesses?
It's a lead generator. They're real solid leads. They're not airy-fairy, I'm going to ring the database and hope like hell we jag one, as Jason so nicely put it. It is high-quality leads out of your existing database that you did not even know were there.
I think I've had a chat to obviously a couple of your agents over that length of time, and one of the things that they've said has been particularly interesting to them is that they're doing a great job of building a database, but in terms of washing through it quickly enough to identify when someone's mind changes between I wasn't selling and now I am thinking of selling, and they've been able to pick that up using ActivePipe intuitively and say, well, these people are now starting to undertake the behaviours, and that information is readily accessible. So let's have a look at a couple of the high details here. So over the course of the last roughly 12 months, we've sent out something like 22 million emails on behalf of LJ Hooker agents. And so far, you can see at the top here are the conversions. So in terms of open for appraisal requests here, we've got a total value of 1,267 appraisals have been generated. And that's people who've received the emails from ActivePipe and said, yes, I'd like an appraisal on my house. That's a high number and a great one to start with. Underneath there, you can see that the geo conversions is 10,286. Now, that means that out of all the emails that have been sent out, and keep in mind these emails that we're talking to a new inquiry to your office. So that's 10,286 new pieces of inquiry that have engaged with a 30% roughly of the LJ Hooker offices that we've been working with who said, this is my address. Okay, so it came through REA, in perspective, where it may have been an ambiguous inquiry, just an email address, maybe a first name. They haven't shared their intentions. They certainly haven't shared their address. They've gone through that nurturing process of ActivePipe and been surveyed, and then they've said, yeah, I'd like to see what's selling around me. Here's my actual address, which means you can have a more meaningful interaction with that prospective client.
There's a lot more relevance in the conversation you're having with your database. A lot more relevance because of ActivePipe.
And where this ties in outside of just, what's for sale and what's selling is also that community engagement. Now, if you can discuss with someone based on their locality what's happening in their area, schools and fetes and conferences and so on, you can engage with them at that level. Underneath there, you'll see another big number, 3,476 people we've identified as potential sellers. Now, the definition of that is someone who's been engaging with sold properties in your emails, okay, potentially researching to appraise their own home, which makes sense, or engaging in the proximity of homes near to their own. So we know where they live, if they're engaging with properties near themselves. And as we move forward, particularly with the engagements that we're going to get out of the likes of Tiger Pistol, we'll be able to know more about those people, and that algorithm will become stronger and stronger as well. So where they're not saying, I'd like an appraisal, but their behaviours are giving away their intentions. Profile completions is one of my favourite things to talk about because it brings it to an agent level. So when agents look at their dashboard, it's very clear to them who I can call, who I can connect with. A total of 1,787 people have identified as just browsing, so they haven't given away their intentions yet. Downsizes, 3,220 people now. I've recently got back from a trip to the US where I was speaking to American agents, but also New Zealand and other parts of the world where I've travelled recently. That doesn't change. If someone's downsizing, it's likely that they've got a property to sell. Does that make sense to everyone? Certainly in the Australian market, if they're downsizing, it's a probability they've got something to sell. First home buyers present other opportunities as well. I know a number of Matthew's agents take that conversation further to not only, is there finance opportunities in there? Is there another way we can build the relationship? Are there other properties? And of course, all those 4,000 people who are buying their first home now, in 3 or 4 years will become sellers again. So if you're building that relationship there. Investors, 4,600, very prominent in Matthew's market, obviously, with the project sales. And then 3,989 people have identified as upsizing, again, likely that they've got something to sell. if we look at the web traffic that we created along that pathway and tying into the digital solution that Ryan and Drew have built, we delivered 2.2 million pieces of traffic back to ljhooker.com.au. Now, without becoming too technically oriented here, and before jumping up here, by the way, Matthew and I had discussed whether we do this in the accents of Gus from yesterday, and following up by Paul, just because we thought we'd have a better interaction with you, and this is where I'd start swearing. 2.2 million pieces of traffic driven back to ljhooker.com.au. Now, put into context, that's 2.2 million pieces of traffic that were driven back to your websites that would then be picked up by Tiger Pistol. Okay, if you're starting to see whether this is all clicking together now. And that pixel, their activity, would then be translated back to your CRM, and then we'd pick that up again with their intentions, and then we're delivering that back to you. So where they haven't updated their intentions or they haven't given their email address yet, you can see how this is the next step. So 2.2 million pieces worth of traffic. Again, in context, that's only dealing with 30% of the LJ Hooker network that we've been working with over the last year. So you can see how that traffic, even in the next 3 months, it's probably a comfortable assumption that we'll probably see that again in the next 3 months moving forward with the whole group. Now, this is looking at LJ Hooker Gungahlin. This is a view of the dashboard taken as of yesterday. Okay, so this is Matthew's view of the dashboard. You can see on the top left, we have high value contacts. Then we have up and coming contacts, geo conversions and profile updates. And that's where I'm going to focus today. If we move forward from here, we've got profile updates. Now, on the right-hand side, that's where an agent can log in. They've got their list of people here, and they can see this person has said they've updated their intentions. Are they upsizing? Are they downsizing? Are they just browsing, looking for their first home? But the intention here is that we can make this as simple as possible for Matthew's agents to join the dots. If someone says they're upsizing, you ring. Okay, if someone says they're downsizing, you connect. It's a call to action. Geo-conversions are people who've added their address, as we discussed, an appraisal request. Well, that's a no-brainer. We all know what to do if an appraisal request comes in. Here's an example of someone who has updated their intentions. So we can see that we're building a profile on this fellow here, Phil, Jason Hall's clients. He's upsizing. He's looking for a house, 4 bedrooms, between 600 and 750,000. Now, there's 2 things that stand out. Maybe he's got something to sell, so you should ask him. But the idea is this has come through from an REA inquiry. It was probably just an email address. He's updated his details. He's updated his mobile number. We know more about him because he's updated a partial address. And his intentions down the right-hand side. Do you see how that becomes an easy phone call to make? An easy connection? You know, hey, Phil, how can I help you find that larger home?
Yeah, once upon a time, we actually had to work really hard to get that data.
Yeah.
We actually had to ring people and ask them questions and give them freebies to get their email address or whatever. They're self-serving. Yeah, they're doing it themselves. They're giving us their fessing up. It's fabulous.
Can you say that again in Gus's accent?
Not quite. They're fessing up. Something like that. I don't know.
The upsizers.
The upsizers.
Shit, let's call them.
You're just about
Here we have the numbers from Matthew's office in Gungahlin. So 118 first home buyers identified in that period of time. 85 upsizers. So Matthew, I, having been an agent for 17 years, if someone tells me they're upsizing, I always assumed you're selling something. More so if it's downsizers, but if upsizers too.
Most likely.
If it's 85 people coming into your business, how much capacity does that add to your agents? I mean, because we've got to spread that out over the agents in the office. But does that have a meaningful impact on their prospecting?
Well, you know, if I'm an agent and I'm being told by the boss to get out and prospect, I could 2 opportunities. I just get into some cold calls, which is so much fun, or I can ring these 85 people who have identified themselves as, hey, I'm a hot lead. Could you please call me? I mean, you think about it. Which call do you want to make? I want to make the warm call and make sure that we convert that opportunity. Now, you know, if we're smart, we should get most of those.
I would think so.
We should get most of those. So, you know, this particular office lists about 25 to 30 properties a month. So there's almost 3 months worth of listings.
Worth of stock.
If we're smart about it and we really get in contact with them properly.
If I just drill down one more level in terms of context, that 85 people there, they're identifying their intentions early in the piece. So that's an REA inquiry. what I've learnt from global research and what we know at ActivePipe with all the emails that we're sending is that day one for an agent in the scheme of a client coming to market and then transacting, whatever time frame that is, agents normally think that day one is at the open house. Does that make sense to you? That's when their first day is. When you connect with them is day one. But the reality is these guys have identified their intentions probably 4 or 5 weeks before that. They've been doing their research online. They've been given an opportunity to engage and submit their details. And they've said that I'm upsizing before they've likely told an agent that that's their intention. Now, that gives you a 4-week head start to build a relationship with these guys before they even make decisions about which agent they might deal with to sell. Does that make sense to you guys? So not only is it 85 people here, it's 85 people that are 4 weeks into the future of your relationship with them. So you've got a head start. So when it comes to negotiating a fee with these guys or VPA with these guys, if you've spent the last 4 or 5 weeks engaging on a meaningful basis, you're already ahead of the other agents. 40 downsizers, 61 investors. Now, the investment conversation, particularly with your success in the ACT, is a whole other 45-minute conversation. But you can see the relationship you can build with those investors too in terms of asking for other opportunities. Are you expanding your portfolio? Is this a first-time investment? Would you like fine? You can see where this is all going.
Ben, I'll just jump in there. If I said to an agent in your office, sales agent, or even you as a principal, if I said, I got a list of 120 people who are going to either upsize or downsize in the next 3 to 6 months, what would you pay me for that? I got a list of people who have already fessed up and said, I'm going to upsize or downsize. Would you pay me for it? I reckon you would. Well, and we got this information there for...
Let's put that in context as well. We do pay. Agencies are making a business out of paying 20% to Open Agent. They're building relationships with Open Agent where they should be building relationships with these guys.
That's right.
If you're finding out beforehand, there's 20% of 85 listings potentially that you don't have to invest in there. If these guys give you the head start, you can take that money and put it into relationship building here. When we go back to the high value contacts, one of the things that I used to frequently do was take out a high value contact for breakfast 1 day a week. So there was 6 days of the week where I'd be eating breakfast with someone in my database. Now, if you look at that in terms of 20% that I could have paid or an extra $6.50 for bacon and eggs, $12, $15. It wasn't always that cheap. But you can see where that investment pays off in dividends in that relationship again. These numbers here are the complete, they're actually only 6 of your offices, I know. But these are the numbers that we took from the 6 offices. So 246 first home buyers, 160 upsizers, downsizers identified there, and 159 investors across the group there. So one of the last things I'll show you is this is someone who's updated their geographic information, so they've submitted their address. We discussed this briefly earlier, but this person has come in to the database, they've gone through the and interacting with the nurturing style of emails that have been sent out automatically, and they've added their address right there. Okay, now, Matthew and I have sort of already underscored the benefit in the conversation, the relationship building capabilities. Keep in mind, all of these emails were done completely autonomously. An agent never typed one of these, an assistant never put it together, a secretary never scheduled it, an administrator never had to worry about the replies, all automated. You'll notice we haven't even discussed the emails that are going out. So as the result of your weekly listings going out automatically with your new stock, based on the engagement, they would get the follow-up for the open for inspection reminder. They would also get any change properties or forthcoming events. And this is what's been coming out of it. The last thing I'm going to show you here today, this is the view of a property for sale. 40, can you pronounce that for me, please? Especially in the Spanish accent. It looks Spanish. Is it Irish? I can't even tell. I can't pronounce it. In Bonner, there's the property for sale. We can see that it's a 410,000, 3-bedroom home, 1 bath, 1 car. We've got 2 open for inspections coming up, and here are the details of emails that have been sent out. I'm not going to go into a hell of a lot of detail here today because of time, but basically what I can see here is the property for sale. We can already see the neighbours that are engaging with it. So in terms of a magic 50, okay, this was the first week worth of marketing, by the way. We can already see neighbours. Now, I guarantee they're not selling that house to buy that one. They're monitoring that house to self-appraise. Obvious to all the agents in the room. But the primary purpose of this, and I had a great conversation with David, Chief Auctioneer now, in terms of what to do with information like this and how easily accessible it is. I'm sure, and I've spoken to Jason from your office about this as well. Here is the list of everyone who's engaged with that property, even when we don't know where they live. And you can see here, this couple's looking for a first home. These guys are looking for a first home. If we scroll through that list, we'll see the first home buyers, the upsizers, the downsizers. I can see it's a 3-bedroom house. When I call that vendor, When an agent calls that vendor, they can say, Matthew, thanks for being the vendor. I've identified, out of the people who've engaged with this already, a group of first home buyers that will be fantastic competition to invite to the first open house. There's also downsizers in there. There's also investors in there that I think will create more competition again. Now, that's a very unique experience. There's nothing, no other software, no other product in the market, in the world, that is available to enable you to identify these guys based out of their clicks and then send them to that property. So give them a call. We discuss the language they use. Jason makes some very effective phone calls to say, for instance here, Mohammed, we've got a home that's going to suit you because it potentially is something that would match your experience or your intentions in buying. Let's have a look at that on the weekend. So there's all these advantages coming out of here. Now, I'm going to wrap up very quickly by saying, again, thank you, Matthew, and for all the help and support you've given us through the offices there. We're going to be rolling out training not only in the ACT for the next 3 months. I'll be on the road and visiting certain areas and regions to make sure all of you and all of your agents have an understanding of what to do when people are identifying their intentions and the appraisals are popping up. And also we'll be doing some webinars and working closely with the team from LJ Hooker here, particularly Drew and obviously Ryan, in making sure that everyone gets the traction out of it. Everyone understands where this sits in the ecosystem. It doesn't exist in isolation. It's one part of your digital strategy.
Yep. I just want to wrap up by saying most of you have probably seen me speak a lot over the years, and you know that I'm pretty heavily into databases and marketing back to databases and getting great engagement with databases. So, and we've got a pretty big database. ActivePipe, without question, is the best tool for databases I have ever seen. And, you know, I said to him, it's a little bit like a drug, and he's the drug dealer here.
Not my words.
I'm addicted, absolutely addicted to this thing. And if you're not going back and making sure that your office is running on ActivePipe, you are missing a huge opportunity. And one other thing I'll say to you as principals, you must learn it yourself, and you must train your people to use it. Because if you have a look at some of those dashboards that we had a look at earlier, there are some people in my organisation that are really ramping into it, and then there are some who are not. And the opportunities are lost. Now, Ryan Campbell said to me the other day, mate, you're smashing it. And I said, well, actually, you know what? I think we're just getting started. We're just getting started on this. It is very, very powerful. It's like digital stalking in some ways. But I'll tell you what, the quality of the leads that your people will be dealing with will be so much better than anything else you've ever seen. So make sure you get signed up, get the training, and if you don't understand something about it, find out from Ben or from me or from someone else, because this will make a quantum leap forward for you, be a quantum leap forward for your office, without question.
That's a fantastic endorsement. Thanks again, Matthew. Jason, just one more thing. I need to grab a selfie for my mum, if we can. Thanks very much. We didn't bring the selfie stick. If everyone could smile and wave, hi, my mum's name's Sue. There we go.
There's a lot of lights.
There is a lot of lights. Thanks. Thank you very much, everyone. Cheers.
Cool. Thanks, guys.